Today, I'm sitting down with the legend himself, Scott Red Dog Redler of T3 Live. This is a guy who called the '08 crash on TV. He trades real positions in front of the public, and he turns routines into results. We're diving into his exact playbook, the 8 and 21-day moving averages, tier sizing, something called the Red Dog reversal, and how to stay aggressive when we're trading above the trend, and how to get out of the way when we're not. If you want mindset, risk control, and actionable levels you can use tomorrow morning, you're in the right place. There's zero fluff here. You're going to get real tactics. Let's go.
So I'm here with Scott Redler from T3 Live and T3 Trading. I'm so excited to have you. Thank you so much for coming today. This is going to be a really good conversation. I've been hearing about you guys for a long time. You've been around for a while. And first, let's get started. I'm curious of like your origin story. How'd you get into trading?
It's actually a pretty interesting story. So, I grew up in Long Island in Syosset, Woodbury, which was like a pretty affluent area. But my dad was a hairdresser. My mom worked for Avis. So we didn't have as much money as everybody else, which is why I went to SUNY Albany. And during that time, when I went to SUNY Albany, I used to MC bar mitzvahs and weddings. That's how I paid my way through school. So every now and then when I rant about, them relieving student debt, I get a little upset. But because, I used to come home twice a month to do 3 bar mitzvahs a weekend and skip some fraternity parties and have to cram in some tests. So anyway, so with that being said, I was always a little bit of a performer / I like to be just say in front of people. And then out of school, I was a marketing and finance major. I started actually funding small concert venues. My first one was actually Prince. You remember Prince, or the artist known as? You remember, of course, back in the day. It's crazy how Prince, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, all like the OGs. They all passed away before 50. It's very unfortunate.
So sad.
So anyway, I raised money for a venue out in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Wound up going out there. I had the pass on. I was looking great. Place was packed. Actually was at the after party. It sold out, and I made my investors like 30%. So it was a really successful event. I was like, wow, this is what I might be doing with post college. So, fast forward, I did about 15 of them. I did Chubby Checker. I did Little Anthony and the Imperials. I did Jeff Foxworthy, the redneck comedian. I actually want to joke. One of his jokes was, how do you know if a redneck is lying?
How? He
lies through his tooth. Okay. Not very nice. That was his joke, not mine. But anyway,
I love it. Hey, I'm from Jersey. You're from New York. We're not always politically correct.
No, sometimes. And so P.S. we got the rights. The company got the rights to the R. Kelly tour. So I know R. Kelly's a voodoo name now, but he wasn't then. He was
huge. He was huge.
Yeah, he was in Space Jam, the movie with Michael Jordan. He had that song, I Believe I Could Fly. Everybody thought he crossed over from R&B to everyone. So I went out, and my job was to raise $3 million for the R. Kelly tour. So at the time, I knew from my promoting days and from days in college that these guys were killing it at Broadway trading. It was called Daytech Broadway Trading. It was probably like 1998. And I met a gentleman by the name of Mark Sperling, and Mark Sperling was, he ran a group of like 35 traders. At that point, he was making so much money, he was investing in Canteen, in Commune, all these restaurants, anything to run the show. So P.S., I went in there, I told him I have the rights to R. Kelly tour. He's like, all right, I'll give you $100,000. And then P.S., between 7 or 8 traders, I raised like $500,000 from them of the $3 million for the R. Kelly tour that had R. Kelly, Foxy Brown, Nas, Busta Rhymes. Like, this was a tour.
Wow.
And it was actually competing with Jay-Z when he first started his Hard Knock Life tour. But little did I know that, everything was successful. I raised the $3 million. I got 20% of the company. I was supposed to make probably about $700,000 as a 26-year-old kid. A lot of money, especially back then. Now that's not a lot of money these days.
Course.
1998.
Still a good amount of money.
No, it is. But you hear about all these millionaires and billionaires. Like, there's no difference between a millionaire, billionaire. Now trillionaires. There's trillionaires now.
Trillionaire is like, the word trillion is only like the last, 4 or 5 years we even use this word. It's hard. It's not a number you can really wrap your head around.
No, it's all right. So anyway, they routed the tour, 30 big concert venues, including like the Meadowlands, Madison Square Garden, you name it, everywhere. And we routed the tour, started, and within about 7-8 dates, they realized in the Midwest R. Kelly wasn't selling. It was 30% full, and they halted the tour about eight shows deep. At that point, I thought I was going to be making $500,000 or so, and I had a little bit of debt. I borrowed some money, and it was a bad scene, and everyone's investment got frozen. And so at that point, it was probably the most horrific time of my life because everyone I knew that invested in this was in this. So Mark Sperling, who was very, very cool at the time, I went to him and told him what was going on. And he's like, He's like, why don't you just come trade with me? You don't have to sell anybody. If you execute, you'll make money. If you're right, you're gonna make money. If you get prepared, you're gonna do well. It's not up to anyone else but you and your computer screen and your preparation. So I went there. I was like, okay, I didn't want to sell anyone anything. I did my job. I was miserable. P.S. Within 6 months, I made I trained well. I paid back my deal within a year. I was already making money, paying back my debts, and lo and behold, by NASDAQ 5,000 was the time I finally was ready to make money, and that's when the tech bubble burst. And he went from 200 members of his group down to 20. But then, really in 2001, 2002, that's when I really became a master of the craft. I went to the West Coast. I took Willie O'Neill's class who's the editor of, Investors Business Daily.
Investor Business Daily, absolutely.
Can Slim, that paper's awesome. It's still awesome for traders. And then I also went to Dan Zanger's course, chartpattern.com. I consider him a mentor. And I created my own style between Willie O'Neill, Investors Business Daily, between reading the tape and, just pure technicals and, cocktail napkin technician. By 2002, 2003, we invaded Iraq. We started the next bull market. I became a manager of his guys. We, merged with Schoenfeld. They bought a piece of us. And,
Schoenfeld. Mm-hmm.
And we were on our way. And, just to, not to get fully through it. And then all of a sudden, once we were doing really well, me, Sperling, and Evan, we broke off and combined with Nexus to create T3 somewhere, I think, around 2004.
Wow. Before we get into T3, you and I have the same mentor because for me, it was William O'Neill. So I was a broker in between 93 and 2000, and the tech stocks was all I recommended because I'm known as the computer guy. So all I did was recommend the top tech stocks and just rotate out of the top 10 names, and it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. It was really easy at the time. And so when the bubble burst in 2000, I had to really figure out how to do it. And I read so many books, but the book that stuck out to me the most was How to Make Money in Stocks by William O'Neill. And that book became my Bible.
I think I've read that 4 or 5 times.
And that book became my Bible. And even my methodology for trading is built on that book. And even my website, Easy Breakouts, where I teach people how to trade, is built as a layer over that book. And his methodology, I saw him before he passed. I don't know if people know how important he is to the trading world. But that's so cool that you and I share that. And some of these names you're throwing out, like Daytech, which was the predecessor to
Broadway Trading.
Broadway Trading. But then weren't they purchased by TD Ameritrade or one of those? I forget.
There was some crazy consolidation everywhere. I wasn't involved in that.
Schoenfeld, I remember.
Yeah, Schoenfeld. He's still around. Schoenfeld is the best of the best. He's acquired so many prop trading firms, and he was the pioneer in black boxes. This is my midday little iced coffee. But there's there's a whole history. There's not a lot of people left, to be honest. And most people from around there, they're either owners or they're running their own places, and they're really guys that survived. Guys like you and I, we've been doing this for.
You need a real methodology. Back then it was the So's Bandits. Were you one of those So's Bandits, or had they eliminated that?
I still have Shift B on my keyboard. I'm a keyboard trader. I have Shift Q. I'm bidding Shift P. I'm offering Shift B. I'm going after the inside market. I also use the Ready Plus, but I am a full-fledged keyboard trader. Like everywhere I've gone, my tech guys always program the front end of the watcher, which was the old school keystrokes. Yeah. And that's what I'm used to. We're all, a bunch of old dogs. We have to learn some new tricks, but usually the routine and the process is the backbone of your system. And then, things have to be tweaked as things change. Speed changes, sectors change, markets change, but you have your moving averages, you have your, the way you have your fear, greed, complacency, all the cycles, what create stocks are all the same. You just have to figure out
exactly,
which one to go to and where to be and how to tier size into it appropriately.
Right. And I mean, human behavior doesn't change, which is why the chart patterns are still very much the same today as they were even in like over 100 years ago. If you look in the book, How to Make Money in Stocks, there's a whole section in there where he shows stocks from the late 1800s, same chart patterns that you see today, which is amazing. And they were trading
same cup and
handle.
They
were lucky to trade a couple, same cup and handle, same double bottoms, same flat bases. And it's interesting because they were lucky if they trade a couple hundred shares of a given stock back then. They didn't have market access like we have today. And slippage. You put in an order, they went through a wire operator. It'd take 20 minutes to get a wire back saying if you got filled. So you can't even imagine what slippage was like then. So then you got rolling with T3. Tell us a little bit about T3 and its origins, where it is today, and what your role is.
Well, T3, again, it was me, Mark, and Evan, and it was 2 partners from Nexus. We really were like the nuts and bolts traders. We were in the trenches, trading every day, good P&Ls, and they were more on the technology side. They had a platform. They had T3 Live or Alive, and they just had really good training. So we were like, why don't we merge and have training, and technology, the 3 Ts. That's what T3 is. At that point, unfortunately, I wasn't worth as much money as the 2 top level individuals who wound up getting a big piece of the overall company. So I got a equity piece, but I was the chief strategic officer, meaning I actually had to work for my equity and build a lot of sweat equity. So it's something that I did do. So we all joined in 2004. We ramped up into the financial crisis, at that point, because, of our experience from the tech bubble bursting. We actually had our best 2 years during the financial crisis when the market got crushed. We still do use the same rules, below the 8 and 21 day. It's volatile. You're out of positions. You're day trading. You're testing levels. You're being safe. All the things that we've learned.
Wait, I heard you mention the 21 day.
Yep.
What is that? The 21 day moving average?
Well, you have moving averages. So there are different moving averages, which I know you know. But if people don't know, there's the 8-day, the 21-day, the 50, the 100, the 200. There's also a lot more in the middle of it. Some use the 10, 20. So it measures the demand and the speed for the market. So I typically say if you trade for a living, which is what I do and most of my people that are in my community do, if you're above the 8 and 21 day, which is like we've been since May, you want to be long, you want to be an active approach. You don't care that everyone in the world's talking about AI bubbles. You want to be involved in, be involved in the movement of the names that are acting very, very well. When you're below the 8 and 21 day, in order for this not to end well, you got to get below the 8 and 21 days, stay below it. So then you see the 50, 100, and 200 day. So part of my methodology is you sell, your active positions when you break the 8 and 21 days. So this way, if we do get more than a 1 to 2 to 3% correction, you could test levels at the 50, the 100 to 200 day. And then if the 200 day doesn't hold, then, it could be in an extended bear market and, you just want to really be careful. So I use moving averages versus the headlines versus the networks that tell me what kind of market we're in. And I use it for stocks. I use it for sectors. And when they're above the 8 and 21 day, most stocks are special. Those are the ones that I hold. Those are the ones I use a tier system. Those are the ones that I try and, navigate on a daily and weekly basis.
So those moving averages are standard moving averages or exponential moving averages or
it could be a blend. I use the EMA. Some use the SMA. It's really just showing how fast is the dip being bought and how active are you. So if an elevated trend breaks, You want to be able to get out of the way so you could buy an intermediate or longer term trend. If you're not going to get back involved at the intermediate trend and then it repairs and goes and you get out too soon and you can't get back in, then you shouldn't be trading the elevated trend. So the moving averages just depends on how active you are. And since we trade for a living every single day, if we break the 8-day, I'll get back in and test it at the 21-day, or if the 8-day gets reclaimed, or I'll be out of the way and see how things act and try and go with things below it. So it all depends.
And you trade individual stocks, or you're trading sectors, or you're trading ETFs of sectors?
I trade everything. Anything that moves, anything that acts well, anything that has relative strength. When stocks are going up, I want to be in the best stock going up and the best sector. When stocks are going down, I want to be out of the way and definitely not in the ones that are acting the weakest unless, you're shorting them. And I'm not the best short. So I'd rather just stay in cash most of the times when markets are breaking, going lower. Yep. So, less brain power. So I'm there for when things find their areas that I can identify better versus trying to play both sides.
Yeah. And you and I both know, and you may have heard that Paul Tudor Jones interview a couple days ago on CNBC. And I mean, I think he's spot on. I've been saying it for a while. This is going to end with a dramatic run up, a blow off top. I think it's going to look more like it did in 2000, where there were runs that just took your breath away. From like October 99 to March of 2000 was the most incredible run that I personally remember. And it was mind-boggling. We ain't seen nothing yet, basically.
We'll see.
And then it doesn't end well, unfortunately. Well, but if you're trading,
by the way, it doesn't end well for shorts that are starting too early either. A lot of these shorts say it's not going to end well. That's not a trading plan. They'll be shorting for 2 weeks maybe, and if it goes for 3 months, they're going to be out of business well before we get that shooting star top and the rollover.
Potentially.
Exactly.
That potentially is what creates that blow-off run, is every short gets blown out of the market. I think that's what happened a lot in 2000, all that leverage and on the short side. And I really think that it's, if you're trading short term, you got to take advantage of the move that's going up right now in the stocks that are working. Maybe, obviously not today, but
well, today's the day you figure out the metal of the market. Right now, we did so far today is test the 8-day. We went down to 667.16. The SPYs tested the 8-day, bounced off it. We were a little extended. I personally lost a little bit more than I wanted to today because I had too many positions on. So it wasn't about, today being a bearish, crazy day. It was about, hey, I had too many positions on, feeling a little too lax. And I was in AMD yesterday on that huge gap up and made a ton of money.
Wow.
Actually, the best day of my career
yesterday. You were
long
before it was announced?
I was long options from last week. It was acting well. The chart was tight.
Awesome.
Semis were doing well. So I had 170-250 calls on. From 250, they went to 50. It's never happened to me. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm a singles and doubles hitter. Never, little lady luck. But if you do it long enough and you're in the right position,
you're not a grand slam hitter.
Derek Jeter, not Wade Boggs. I'm a New York Yankee guy. Actually, he was a Yankee, so it's fine.
Yes. Come on. All right, let's talk about the T3, the 3 Ts.
All I know is what I'm involved in is more the T3 live area, where I have 500 individuals from around the world that trade, that could see my positions. I could talk to them like this on the microphone. We could plan. We could share news. We try and stay on top of everything that's going on. We have some fun. We have some happy hours, and it's guys just trying to make a living and move forward, because we've been doing this for so long. You have to have a routine. You have to have a routine that you love. But the T3 Live division has a bunch of guys like me with different personalities, depending on what your risk is, what your skill is. And, my team is called the Alpha Team. And, a lot of them are awesome. I've been, once you become a part of the Alpha Team, some have been there for a decade, 15 years, 18 years. Some of them have been there longer than my son has been born. And they've watched him grow up.
Wow.
And, they, love a little bit of everything. So I also write a note for those that can't be online all day and have a job, that people get at 8:30, and it has 40 different actionable ideas where people could read the note and pick a few things that they might want to do if they know the market well, to create some cash flow outside of their job. And then I have Red Dog Mindset. It's the Wall Street workout at 5:20 in the morning. If you want to do a 20-minute workout with me, I do it from the box, which is my sauna, where I listen to a playlist and I've come up with a nice 20-minute workout with mobility and breathing and sweating and supersets.
In the sauna?
In the sauna.
Like Bikram yoga, huh?
Like Bikram
Like a
yoga,
hot yoga?
with dumbbells and a playlist, a little M&M.
In the sauna. That's a big sauna.
It's not that big. You don't need that much room. You should tune in.
So let's talk about routine. Let's talk about routine, because it's funny you mentioned that. I think, at least in my opinion, trading is a peak performance activity. And I think having a routine that sets your body right sets up your mind for being successful trading. So I think you and I had discussed that you besides the sauna, you do some other training, physical training.
Yeah. I've just my whole life, ever since even in high school, I was a wrestler. So I've been doing push-ups since I'm 12. So that's just what I do. What I do is doesn't usually change if it's in your fabric. So I went from being a wrestler to to once I was done and playing flag football in college, to once I was done living in Manhattan and started to trade. I started to do some triathlons, some endurance, type of races. So this way I could always keep the fitness, keep my mind right, keep a goal on there. And when I was 30 years old, my best friend passed away of leukemia. So
I'm so sorry.
It was horrible. He was my best friend. He was my roommate in Albany. We promoted clubs together. We lived in the city together. He didn't even know he was sick. He actually he went out quite a bit, so he thought it was a hangover. He wasn't really in tune with his body, so I'm not going to say he was a saint. But then all of a sudden he passed away, and that's when I started to get serious a little bit more with trading. I really started to focus on routine, focus on process. I was working with the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I was their fundraising chair because, as I said, I raised $3 million for the R. Kelly tour. I could raise a bunch of money to help save lives with blood cancers. And I did an Olympic triathlon with New York City, and then I started training for the Ironman. And I raised like $50,000 for my friend Steven's foundation, who sends kids to camp and to college. And it really set the tone for me for trading. You give someone busy, something to do, you do it. So routine, process. In order to do an Ironman, it's 11, 12 hours, with the nutrition, with the bike, with the everything. Same way you got to get up 4:45 in the morning. You have to look at the news, get your mind right, drink your water, get in the sauna, look at 40 charts, go over multiple plans in your head, ingest it, and get ready. So when that bell rings and things trigger, you execute with confidence.
Huge deal. Thanks for sharing that, because it's so important. Trading is a peak performance activity. If you're out with the boys all night partying, you're not going to be sharp. You're going to lose money. You're going to make bad decisions, and you can spiral out of control. I've seen it over and over. So if you're newer to trading, please heed this advice and this warning. So what is your favorite strategy? You talked about the 8. You talked about the 21. Mm-hmm. What is your strategy? Are you trading cup and handles and flat bases?
Of course.
And
chart patterns are like, I have it's on my license plate, it says chart pattern. No,
that's awesome.
It's a formula though. Like I've speaking for the active trader audience for Schwab. I've gone to the Ukraine to train traders. I've gone to China. I've gone to Uzbekistan. Wow. It's all about the formula and the process, and it's everything. It's like one big. There's no holy grail. It's moving averages. Oh, it's chart patterns. Oh, it's a tier system. Oh, it's your stops. It's everything rolled up into one. Slowly but surely, you start as a day trader, then you become a swing trader, then you day trade and swing trade, then you add options, then you do day trade, swing trade, options. Then, you hold things for more than 1 to 3 days. You go 1 to 3 weeks. It's just a little bit of everything, and it starts somewhere, and you build on it, and you keep building and evolving. So I love chart patterns.
Where are these lessons? People want to learn these lessons, because you're very sharp. I can tell right out of the gate.
I think
we have the same mentor.
It's true, we all like birds like a feather, Is that what they say? Flock together. You could go to YouTube, Scott. Just Google Scott Redler YouTube. I think there's like 12 free lessons in there. You have my gaps lesson. You have my moving average lesson. You have the Red Dog reversal, which is a tactic that I use at tops and bottoms and a way to execute with a plan. I go over chart patterns. I go over everything. Like I give a lot out for free, where my partners get really pissed off at me because they're like, Red Dog, you give away too much for free and they're not going to buy anything. I'm like, It's all right. I'm only a small
Yes, they
partner.
will.
I don't
Yes,
get
they
that.
will.
I don't get that big of the business anyway. I make my money trading. I'll take some money out of your pocket so people don't throw tomatoes at me, and they'd rather say, "Hey, thank you very much." No,
So where does Red Dog come from? How'd you get that nickname?
Red Dog. So my last name is Redler. And I used to, like I said, I used to MC bar mitzvahs and weddings. I also promote clubs when I was in SUNY Albany, and I used to bartend. So, and I was president of Sigma Nu, which was a pretty big drinking fraternity. So, every now and then you go out with the boys, you have some fun. If I liked you, I kind of bit your shoulder, just for fun. No girl shoulders, just guy shoulders. And I'm married with a kid, so it was all in good fun. And so Red Dog, here's the dog's coming out, kind of like Frank the Tank, but Red Dog. And and then it kind of stuck. And also you had Red Dog beer come out at the time when I was bartending.
Yeah,
So
yeah, is that still around, that beer?
I haven't seen it. I should buy that label.
No,
right?
I haven't seen it either. Yeah, it's probably collectible something.
Right. And then it stuck. And then I moved to Short Hills, and I've my son is pretty athletic, so I always volunteer. I coached his flag football, and then I coached lacrosse from 2nd to 8th grade. So instead of being Mr. Redler or Scott, because it just feels weird with the kid calling you Scott, my parents put that in me. Like, I don't call adults by their first name. I was just Coach Red Dog. So now I'm Red Dog in town. I helped build a field that they call Red Dog Field because it was no turf fields. I'm on the Rec Commission. I'm on the Ed Foundation. I MC Rocktoberfest, which is the biggest festival pretty much in New Jersey besides Maple Woodstock. We're on our 10th year. And it just kind of stuck. I introduced myself as Red Dog, and my friends are like, "You're such a weirdo." I'm like, "You'll remember it versus Scott." I'm like, if you can remember Scott, are you going to remember Red Dog? So go to a lot of places.
Of course.
And that's that.
It's a good DJ name, or MC name, absolutely, 100%.
That was Scotty Shuffle. That wasn't Red Dog.
Can you explain a little bit about your virtual trading floor?
Yeah, well, basically you get a login and password, and then you could put it up. Like, I have 6 monitors. You're the computer guy, so I'm sure you could basically set that up for many people out there.
Behind me, 6 monitors.
6 monitors. Me too. What it has is on it, there's an area where everyone could talk and ask me questions, and they could also talk amongst themselves. And there's another section where in the morning I post 40 charts. I start with sectors, and then I go into mega cap tech, and then I go into semis, and then I do one-offs, and then, some of the aviation names. So that goes there so they could, look at the chart, look at my language, and see the levels in wherever they are. They could be at Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch. It could be in their basement or their kitchen. It doesn't matter. I don't discriminate. It's one cost for everyone. We use a tier system so nobody feels bad about themselves, because some people trade with 50 grand, some people 30 million. So tier system is based for just like your what's the word, for your level of confidence. If you're in tier 1, you kind of like it. Tier 2, you're really there. Tier 3, either it's going against you and you're doing the wrong thing, or it's one of those special patterns that lines up on the daily, weekly, and monthly, and boom, it doesn't happen often. And they get to see my positions. Like, my positions are there. They get to see when they come on, when they come off, so they could be like,
real
hey,
money positions, no simulated nonsense.
Real money positions.
You're a real mentor. You're a real mentor. And
thank you.
You're ready to show what you're doing with your real money in real time. And that's, number one, that's brave. And number 2, for people listening to this interview, it's so important, because that is like the fast track to becoming successful. Scott and I both learned from reading William O'Neill and studying the Investor Business Daily and those chart patterns. And there weren't really a lot of live trading rooms.
No, not at all.
I mean, when I first started in the early 90s, we were writing tickets by hand and walking up to the window for them to get wired up to New York. There was no online trading. We had computers. They had black screens and green print on them.
Did you have the Instinet machine? Did you have the Instinet machine right there?
The Instinet. Well, no. There was
Triple
a trader
X's.
in the office who had the Instinet machine, which was in color. It was a black screen, but at least the letters were in color. I remember. I'm going back far now.
Yeah.
It's like early 90s. People have an opportunity to really learn from real traders, real mentors in real time now that they didn't have before. And definitely vet who your mentor is going to be. Scott's been around a really long time. He's talking original online trading, and he's willing to share his real positions. That's such a big deal.
And by
There's
the
a
way,
lot of nonsense out there.
Eddie, they can go to YouTube. I mean, Google Scott Redler Financial Crisis 2008. There's a 4-minute video where I was on CNBC every single week with Mark Haynes and Evan Burnett. I called the entire crash. And I was like, they were like out of their minds. I told them exactly the head and shoulder top pattern, when it was going to break, where it would go, what the levels were. When Dow was at 10,000, I'm like, we haven't capitulated yet. We haven't seen hedge funds explode. Like, I went through everything and saved a lot of people, a lot of headache, and a lot of anarchy. And then we caught the bottom, so and traded that trend where everybody was fighting the trend. I was on with him 2 days before that. That's crap. He did not call the bottom. They caught it. So basically, we gapped up after 2 days, and he's like, "Oh, that could have been the bottom," and they tagged it to Mark Haynes' bottom. Listen, he's not here to defend himself.
It's okay. It's okay.
I was there. I could post. I give you that picture 2 days before.
I believe you.
We were talking about how now's the time to get a plan. Now's the time to start, using a tier system. Now's the time to, because he was like, the nauseous meter was so high. I'm like, now's not the time to get nauseous. Now's the time to stay on your toes. And 2 days later, we gapped up. Yeah, it was pretty nauseous.
Scary. I mean, watching the Dow drop down into the 6,000s from where it had been was
666.
Is that really the number? It was, It was nauseating, and it was really a scary time. Way worse than scary in 2000 and the low in 01. I mean, even obviously September 11th is.
Yeah, that was because for 4 days that was crazy when the market closed and when it reopened. But listen, what really taught me was, during 2007, 2008, it was very scary because you also had a housing crisis. That's where you had the signs out, foreclosures everywhere. That's because people owned 4 different homes with the interest-only loans, and the Community Reinvestment Act screwed everybody by saying everyone had to own a home. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but as scary as that was, 2007, 2008, by 2011, we were already back to those highs. So if you think about that 3-4 years later, it's all it took. That was the scariest time frame that we think we lived through. So within 4 years, if you cost averaged in every month into a 401k, into a 529, my wife's Blood in the Street account was built during the financial crisis because she worked at UMD&J. She put money in every single month. She was like 28 years old, and her whole account was built because every month, all the way down, all the way up, sideways, and gone. So if you're
same amount of money every single month, amount of money every single month, averaging down.
Right. So just say for everyone who's watching this, all of your market participants out there, if you're 28 years old, like, I can't start a 401k now. Yes, you can, and you should hope we get some kind of 2-year market correction so you could cost average in, because you don't need it till you're 59. You have 20, 30 years. Or whatever it is. So if you're trading for a living, you better know what you're doing with the moving averages and everything we talked about. But, at this point, max out a 401k, max out a 529, put it in every month, whatever you could afford, because you'll spend it somewhere else. If you don't put it in the market, you'll spend it on stupid stuff. You just put it in the budget and just get it that's what's going to develop your real wealth, besides if you trade for a living. But just to end that thought, so because by 2011-12, we were already back to the highs and then some. When the 2020 pandemic hit, I think I was, 49. My friends were like, what do we do? Like, it looks like a movie, like a ghost town, like this. I'm going to sell everything. I'm like, you know what? If you sell everything, you might be right for 4 months, but you may never get back in. Like, how long do you think this is going to last? If it's 2 years, what are you, 49? You can't have your money till you're 59. You're not that smart. You're not a trader either. Just, keep it going. And then by 7-8 months, we V-bottomed, came off it, and, back to highs. And, some people sold into that thinking they were smart and never got back in. So 401k, always put it every single month. That's a different vehicle than trying to time the market for a living.
Totally. And if your company's matching it, that's just free money. I mean, you got to max that out if you can, just because if it's free money, it's, and then on top of that, if you can afford it, do a Roth 401k.
Yes.
Even though it's not tax deductible now, it will grow tax free, which is a beautiful thing.
Beautiful.
So it sounds like you're still super excited about trading. This is your life, like it is for me. What's the most exciting thing about trading for you?
I don't let my highs get too high, my lows get too low. I like my routine. I like my process. I'm up at 4:45 every day. Love waking up, turn my sauna on. I drink a big cup of water. I take a few deep breaths, and then I look at what's happening around the world, and I could see what Europe, what Asia, everything, where the futures are. So I could see in my head what's kind of leading what. I get in the sauna, and I just created Red Dog Mindset, which is fantastic, where, you could subscribe through Twitter, and it's just $10 a month. It's part of the whole. It's what's
so the
kept me.
Red Dog Mindset. That's about.
That's my company.
It's mindset.
It's what's kept me in the business for 30 years. It's the pregame of the pregame. It's kind of like, are you a football fan?
Yeah.
Okay, so you watch the game at 1 o'clock. That's the game. That's like 9:30. Okay, then you could listen to everyone talk about it at 12 o'clock.
Right.
And then you have the Netflix Hard Knock Life, follow the team in the locker room. So that's what Red Dog Mindset is. It's the follow the team in the locker room. It's the 520. It's the weekend. It's the ice barrels. It's the sauna. It's sweating. It's thinking through. It's not the X's and O's of the charts. It's, hey, what do I do every single day to keep me feeling fit? You look like you're in good shape. Also excited and balanced, for the day. So I created a small little performance company that I feel like I've learned, between doing 2 Ironman, 10 marathons, 2 Spartan races. I have the cold plunge record in the Ukraine, where I stayed in the ice barrel for 10 minutes and almost froze to death.
Wow. You must have Ukrainian blood. Russian.
My grandparents are from Poland. So a little bit of the Eastern Bloc. My grandparents
we're probably cousins.
They probably knew each other, because I'll tell you, my parents.
Did
you watch the movie The Pianist with Adrian Brody?
Yes. Oh, great movie. Fantastic movie.
That's exactly what happened. My grandparents were in Warsaw. They heard the Nazis were coming. My grandfather was 17, took my grandma. They left. They went into Russia. They got taken into a Siberian work camp for 3 years, which was better than a death camp. And that's where my dad was born. In the work camp.
And he was born there.
He was born there. He fell out. They cut his umbilical cord with a knife, put him in an oven because there was no incubators. And then when
how old was he when he got here?
3 years old.
Wow.
Kind of like the movies,
story.
Going right through the boat, right through Ellis Island, like in the window. Every director tries to recreate the scene coming to America through Ellis Island, through the Statue of Liberty. Well, that was my grandparents and my dad. My grandparents had 50 cents in their pocket, and my dad, I think he had some disease that he had to get quarantined because he was so undernourished for like 3 months before they let him go back to my grandparents.
My family stories are very similar. We could probably talk about that over a beer forever.
Yes, we can.
And it's the thing that I find most fascinating. So that must have been in the 40s, right?
Yeah, so, 42, 44-ish, I think.
So, and the immigrants were coming in through Ellis Island since like the 1870s, I want to say. That path of immigration for so many years, for so many people. It's off topic, but it's very interesting when you grow up in the Northeast like you and I do, from a similar culture, clearly.
But our parents weren't privileged. I'm just saying, my grandparents, 50 cents. My dad went to Vietnam, came back, didn't have a pot to piss in. He had to become a hairdresser because he can only use his hands. He should have been a cop. That's what he says. But then sometimes, when you see everyone talking about, free enterprise or capitalism, how it's unfair and this and that, and you think about what, people had to do back in the day to eat and to move their family up a few notches, gets you upset, where everyone just wants a handout. But again, we won't get into that.
People come here for opportunity. The majority have come here for opportunity to make a better life for their family. And
to come through the right way. That's all,
To do it the right way. And there's all different generations that have shown that that's true. But it should be done the right way and not with handouts. That's for sure.
But everyone does need help. I get it. I help. I give to charity. Everyone needs help. I'm just saying, my son is at the age of college. And I see, even when I went to SUNY Albany, my best friend that I told you died of leukemia, his last name was Perez. He got in with a 71. I had friends that had the last name Goldberg that didn't get in with a 92. So, there's got to be a happy medium of, affirmative action and things.
I don't know if that's right or not. That sounds, argue that's racism in its own way, couldn't you?
You can, but I guess we'll just go back to talking moving averages so we don't get people upset.
I'll remove that. I'll remove that from the, because I don't want to get anything. I don't want anything recorded political or, I know you agree.
Listen, I had this thing with Trader Monthly Magazine. We didn't talk about that, where Rich Blake found me because I was doing the Ironman, and I had this thing called the Red Dog Rant. It was a column in Trader Monthly Magazine where I did rant. I try and say I'm a moderate in the middle. Like, the moderate in the middle doesn't get any airtime. You have to be the farthest left or the farthest right, say the most sensational thing to get page views. I would just say things that a lot of people were thinking, because most people are moderates in the middle and have common sense and want to live the right way. But the only people who get the attention are the ones that make the biggest headlines on the left or the right.
Polarizing
So yeah,
ones.
exactly. So they could polarize it and sell papers or do whatever it's going to be. Same thing with the stock market. Every single day, it's about the AI bubble. All the risks of being in the stock market, not all the risks of being out of the stock market. So every billionaire comes on TV talking about how, it's so, you have to be so cautious. And, meanwhile, then they're like, are you invested? Oh, yeah, of course, I'm fully invested. But for everyone else, it's too risky for you. But we're all billionaires and we're invested with a process and a plan. So I try and teach a process and a plan to, not the billionaires and the trillionaires, more for the guys who, want to work hard and figure it out.
Right. And you're definitely doing what you can do to help people just by being honest and authentic with your trading accounts and how you're trading. I mean, people can actually see what you're doing, and with real money, that's a huge, huge deal. So again, where can people find, number one, your training, T3 Live?
Well, T3Live.com, they just, put that in and it'll come up, and there's, it'll be self-explanatory where to go.
And your courses and your strategy, everything's there.
And there's so much for free, I'll say. Like, they want to go to Google and Google Scott Redler, YouTube, there'll probably be 15 things that come up where they could, go to and get it for free, or they could come if they want to be part of T3 Live and be, they could actually, speak to our sales reps, Amber, Monica, there's a bunch of them that will, give people a free month to test it out and see if it's for them. Some people don't have enough buying power or economies of scale. Some people, they'll tell their story. And as long as people, some people create 5 different aliases to do it, and, you know who you are. But, there are a lot of good people out there, and, we use common sense. Like, we have an open house. I had an open house 2-3 weeks ago where 500 people spent the whole week for free in the virtual trading floor, and over 100 of them wound up signing on because we had a great week. Not every week's great, but we had a great week. And then, it's been good ever since. Today was a little tricky, but, and then I have a note, and then we have this thing called Power Plays where some people are like, hey, Red Dog, I just can't see what you're doing, and I just can't follow. So we have a thing called Power Plays where it's a push out where we just tell you what to do. Buy this here, this is your stop, and depending on how it goes, we piece them out, and at least they know that, hey, I think Red Dog's honest. I can't do the work. I can't read through his note and pick out 3 things of the 40 or follow it. So just tell me what to do, and hopefully you're right more than you're wrong, and at least we know you're trying to be right. Like some people on TV play a trader on TV, they really don't know what they're doing. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
I try and make sure the play works. Like, I like to help. I don't like when people get upset. I'm a little not to say I'm narcissistic and have names after myself like the Red Dog Reversal or something, but I just, again, I like to do the right. I try and do the right thing. So sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes people join the VTF at the wrong month, and it's like a horrible month. Like, I thought you were good. I'm like, market kind of sucks. I tried a few things that didn't work. I'm using my stops. I'm going with my process. We're going to buy it some time, and sometimes the market's been great.
And it's all about when you exit and admit you're wrong.
Yeah. And
when do you admit you're wrong? That's the key. You're never going to be right all the time.
So that's
you don't even have to be right
way.
half the time. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Well, they say, Red Dog, where do you put your stops? I'm like, where the trade changes. If you're in the trade for a reason, and then the reason changes, you get out. If you're in the trade because it's a nice move, bull flag, holding higher, ready to go again, and all of a sudden it breaks the 4-day flag to the downside, you get out. If you've been in the trade for 3 months and you're in your last tier and you're giving things more room because you've already taken 2/3 out and you're not using the 8th day and you don't want to be perfect because of the size of the move, but you want to stay engaged, that's a different portion. So when the trade changes, then I get out. I don't make an excuse why it happened. I just say that, you know what, I was in this for this reason or this type of market. Now it's different. Let me just tighten it up. Like today, not that the market changed. I'm just tightening it up a little bit because I lost too much money based on the action of the day. So I know that I had too many positions and too many leftover trades that, if you have 15 leftover trades with 25% on and all 15 of them go down a little bit because it's a down day, that could add up to a lot of money. So maybe I shouldn't have all 15 left on. Take some off. You're allowed to love them and leave them, kind of like college.
I love it. And where can people find your mindset stuff?
So on my Twitter.
Red Dog Mindset?
Red Dog Mindset's on my Twitter and in my Instagram. There's a subscribe button, so they could press the subscribe button. It's only $10 a month. And it gets a little bit of everything. I do this thing called Whiteboard Weekends, where I do a big lesson on the weekend where I get a whiteboard and I talk about psychology and the mantra and all the things that I've learned, try and help advance people's learning curves. And I try and, right now I'm fasting today. I'm in the middle of a 40-hour fast. So,
wow.
I started on Sunday night and, a lot of people want to do that. So I do with them. I've been doing push-ups every day. So it's like I'm an accountability buddy when it comes to trying to set some goals and trying to build some self-esteem and get your mind clear so you can execute when it's time in the market to help build the inner voice.
Awesome. Scott, I so much appreciate, or shall I call you Red Dog?
Call me Red Dog. It's easier.
Red Dog, I appreciate you
by the way,
being
Eddie,
here,
what's your nickname? You have to have a nickname from all these years.
I am. Eddie Z
Eddie
is my
Z?
nickname. My real name's Russ Hazelcorn.
Russ Hazelcorn?
Yeah, that's my real name.
All right, very cool.
Why, does it sound familiar?
No, it's a long one. It sounds like it could be like it could be a movie character. Like it's hard to make like Russ Hazelcorn. They didn't cut the name because I feel like a lot of the individuals that came over on the boat or whatever.
There were three brothers, and they went through Ellis Island. They all got different spellings of that name.
All right.
So I mean, there's different theories.
Could be like Russ Hazel. Russ Hazel.
It's like Hazelcorn with a K. There's Hazelcorn with a C. Right. There's Hazel, HASELKORN. There's three brothers. They went to different windows, got different names.
So where did Eddie Z come from?
Eddie Z, it was developed because I came up with this idea, easy breakouts, which is where I teach people how to trade. And I thought the name Eddie Z would go well with the easy part.
I like it.
Easy trading computers and easy breakouts. And that's the truth. That's where it came from.
I'll tell you, easy is good. I try and be a cotton napkin simplified technician, just like Art Cashin, where, if you look for too many things, you're going to be looking for too many things and you're never going to execute. So stupid sometimes is the best.
The less number of variables, the easier it's going to be for you to trade. The more variables you introduce, it's Occam's razor, as I think Einstein used that terminology. The more variables you have, and that's why you got to be really sensitive about what news feeds you allow in, what garbage you listen to, Instagram.
And there's a lot of it out there.
It's worse than ever. It's worse than ever. People don't realize how many messages they're being bombarded with on a daily basis. Now, I mean, it's
Eddie,
overwhelming.
I might actually leave public Twitter because of it. Every time I put a tweet out there now, like 40 bots attach itself to my tweet, and I don't even know in my community who is asking a question, who's doing what. So I might turn it all into Red Dog Mindset public. And if I have 225,000 public Twitter followers since 2012, I might just turn it into a few thousand and just say, hey, I can't, a bot's not going to pay, $10 a month, and so time. It's like I'm almost ready to do and just say I'm done, and which will be good for me too because you get a few thousand people, that get value added by doing a lot of different things. It's the way to go. Versus I don't even look when I do a tweet and do a chart. I can't even look. There's 40 different Redler, Scott Redler, Scott Redler, Scott this. All impersonators. It's crazy.
Yeah, you told me that you had an impersonator on Instagram. Tell me that story again.
So I'm sitting there watching football with my son. His name is Chase Redler. He's a junior in high school. He's actually working his butt off to try and get recruited for basketball. And all of a sudden, he's like, Dad, are you texting me? Are you hitting me up on Instagram? I'm like, no. He's like, Scott Redler on Instagram is asking me how my finances are doing, how's trading. I'm like, well, let's indulge this conversation. So he said, oh, it's doing fine. How are you? He's like, oh, I'm great. And then he started asking him questions. How long you been in the market? Do you need any help? we have a matching program where if you send me $5,000, we could turn it into 20, da 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 da. And I grabbed the phone from him. I'm like, hey, Scott, how's it going? He's like, good. I'm like, so where are you at? Or, he's like, what's your, and I go, first of all, you're talking to Scott Redler, and I'm going to send the FBI to your goddamn house, and you better stop this, otherwise you're going to jail. And I clicked them. So, but anyway, we have a whole unit at T3 that tries to block and report impersonators. It's worse than ever.
It's very sad world we live in with some of this stuff. It's incredible. So be careful of what you allow in.
True.
Make sure it's authentic. Make sure it's the real thing. We'll make sure those links are under this interview. So
you know what? I'll tell you. Let me tell you a little bit more of that story. So then there was one guy who actually, put a complaint in against T3. Someone actually got $50,000 taken from them, from an imposter, a Scott Redler impersonator. God. And then when they went on with the law department, the guy didn't realize that it was Scott Redler, Radler, didn't even look to see if it was the right spelling, and got fully baited in. So what happened is the guy sent him $5,000, and then all of a sudden, 3 weeks later, he got sent back $2,500. Oh, look at that! He sent another $5,000, sent him back $3,000. So he's sending him back his own money, building the confidence. To all of a sudden, finally, he's like, "Oh, if I could send you 5 or 10 and make all this, I could send you 50." Sent him 50, and then the guy took off.
Oh my God!
Crazy.
People, don't be suckers.
Yeah. Read the fine print.
There's no such thing as somebody who's going to miraculously send you money. It just doesn't exist. You got to make it on your own, and it can be done. Trading is not gambling.
Yes.
You can figure it out. If you do it methodically, you get a good mentor like Scott.
Did you ever see
it can be done.
Eddie Z, did you see my fight with Portnoy like a year ago?
No, I did not.
Well, he started a Davey Day Trader again after blowing everybody up in 2020, 2021. I went after him. I'm like, what the hell are you doing back as Davey Day Trader? You said stocks never go down up until 2021, and then we were in a bear market for a year. You cracked your computer screens. You lost tons of people, tons of money between 20 and 30 calling the stock market a casino, which it's not. What the hell are you doing back? And he went off the deep end. He's like, suck my Red Dog. And then all of a sudden for 6 months we were battling. And then, we squashed everything. But I was like, it's not a casino. Like, you want to do your DraftKings bets. You want to bet games, do parlays, this and that. I'm like, you're teaching bad habits and you're going to blow people up. You don't have a routine. Absolutely. You don't have a process. You're half hungover. I'm like, that's not the right way. Obviously kids have to learn their lessons, but, you have no method, no nothing. Like, stop it. Get out. Go. And there's a whole epidemic in this country with gambling. Kids are committing suicide every other day now because they're getting into holes. They think it's so easy. And, Portnoy and his crew glorify gambling. It doesn't end well.
Right. And well, now it's legal too. I mean, we didn't have DraftKings and these websites. Like, when I was a kid, there was Atlantic City, which I always thought was disgusting.
It was hard to get in.
And then Vegas.
No, well, this is what actually is happening, Eddie. So DraftKings is not horrible because you put the money down and you could lose it. What's happening is it's getting them in a habit of betting. First, there's these sites that you bet coins. So you're messing up with the kids when they're 14. Or you could bet as much as you want. You're not winning money, you're winning coins. So it gets them in the habit. Yeah, and then the parents think they're cool. So they'll go and say, hey, let's share a DraftKings account so we could talk and I'll put $100 in and we'll do bets. And then all of a sudden the kid thinks it's so easy in high school. Some college kid that's a bookie says, hey, I'll give you $1,000 limit. Oh my God. Okay. Gets to 700. Then he says, you know what? You're a good kid. I'll give you 2,000. You'll make it back. You don't have to worry. Then the guy gets to 1,800. And then he's like, I'll give you it to 5. Then at $4,000, he's like, pay me. He's like, whoa, let's go more. He goes, no, pay me. And then he's like, I'm going to show up at your doorstep, tell your parents, and, pay me. Otherwise, I'm going to break your leg. And these kids are trying to commit suicide because they don't know how to tell their parents, and they're caught in a big hole because, these older bookies are preying on them because of that bad habits they got because everyone's glorifying gambling.
It's terrible. Just terrible. Trading is not gambling. I have a video on my YouTube channel says trading is not gambling. Take a look at that.
I'll take a look at that too. Here. That's good.
Awesome. Scott, I really appreciate it, my man. So nice to chill with you. We will do this again.
Yeah.
And hopefully meet in person, have a beer one day. That'd be nice.
100%.
We're cut from the same cloth, brother. We really are.
I hear you. And there's not a lot of us out there, hardworking individuals that have lasted through the test of time, that are looking to give back, also make a living. Everyone's like, well, why do you have a paid service? I'm like, okay, do you ever go eat at a good restaurant? If the food's good, you provide a service. So I'm hoping to provide some good food for everybody. If food sucks, and that's that.
Awesome.
But
Thanks again.
all right, be well.